Episode 26 of the Tool Bags Up Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian Caballero. Things are slowly but surely going back to normal. Still no sports. However, we do have some controversy that went down this past week. Primarily talking in the NFL and in the MLB. Gonna have a little bit of an extended show because these two topics are extremely important. And we're gonna start with the NFL. So every year after the last Sunday of the regular season in January, NFL teams have what's called Black Monday. Black Monday is where teams fire their head coaches and start looking for their next captain to steer the ship. This year there was 5 teams who fired their coaches, 2 of which fired their coaches in season. The Redskins and the Panthers both fired their head coaches in season, and then the Giants, the Browns, and the Cowboys fired their head coaches after the season. So with these 5 jobs vacant, the topic that comes up every single year is who's interviewing for these positions, who's getting hired. And in the NFL, there's this issue that minorities aren't getting a fair shake during these interviews. And this year was a good example of it. Now, there was less candidates for it, but there was 2 specific candidates that were really qualified and did not land the job. And that was Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Marvin Lewis, a longtime head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals and very established head coach in the NFL. Now, the NFL tried to propose a deal for teams to sort of help, I guess, them hiring minorities, and many people took offense to it. So did I. The NFL proposed that any team that hires either a minority head coach or GM will have an improved draft pick in the next year's draft. So the year is 2020, and we now have to give an incentive to an organization so they can hire a minority to do a job. That's fucking bullshit. It is fucking bullshit. It is an embarrassment. It's plain and simple. That's what it is. It's a fucking embarrassment. It's fucking sad. What pisses me off is that this is what it's come to. Like, in order to create these opportunities for coaches, you have to give an incentive out to get them hired, which is bullshit. You should be hiring them because they're the right person for the job. And let me tell you, Eric Bieniemy and Marvin Lewis are both very qualified to be NFL head coaches. You shouldn't have to have an incentive for you to consider them to hire them as your head coach. The whole thing with the NFL that just does not make sense to me is that this league is made up of minorities. More than half of the league are minorities. So the message that you're sending out is like, okay, you are capable of going out there, risking your life, risking your health as a player, but you're not capable of leading a team as a head coach. You're not capable of running the entire organization as a general manager. It's fucking bullshit. It is. It's fucking bogus. But my initial reaction to this was I couldn't believe what I was reading. I couldn't believe what I was hearing on shows. Then I stopped and I started thinking a little bit. And to be honest, I don't know how this is going to land with people, but I'm actually for it. Only reason why I'm for it is because I really do believe that this will open the doors for minorities to land head coaching jobs. And if this is what it takes, then I'm for it. Because there are so many talented guys that deserve to be head coaches that aren't getting the opportunities. I mean, you look at the minorities currently that have head coaching positions. Mike Tomlin, very successful head coach. Don't agree with everything that he does. Not necessarily saying he's my favorite NFL coach, but he's had success since he entered the league, since he became the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anthony Lynn, he's ballsy. He's had some successful years with the Chargers. Brian Flores, I know last year wasn't a great year. I know he's the head coach of my Dolphins, so there's a little bit of bias in here. But they started off 0-7. Everybody was asking for his job. They're just like, all right, this is a completely failed plan. This is another one of Belichick's assistants that just couldn't make it as a head coach in the NFL. And then, oh yeah, he goes with a far less talented team than what he started with and finishes the season 5-4. And now all of a sudden, after a spectacular offseason and a great draft, now there's people even talking about the Dolphins winning the division this year, a year later after they were rebuilding. Maybe minorities can coach in the NFL. Maybe, just maybe, if we give these guys an opportunity to build something here, they could actually be successful. Now, I'm not saying that the coaches that were hired this year were bad options, because let's break it down. So Mike McCarthy gets hired by the Cowboys. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, probably the best resume that was available, and the Cowboys hired him. I don't have a problem with that hire. Ron Rivera went to the Super Bowl with the Panthers. For me, that was the best coach available. Redskins got him. No problem with that one. Kevin Stefanski, really solid years with the Minnesota Vikings. I can see where he would make a good head coaching candidate. Matt Rule, he's a program builder, right? He went to Temple, rebuilt their program, went to Baylor, turned them around. He was one game away from making the college football playoff. Understandable. And then the Giants hiring Joe Judge. Now, a lot of people gave Judge a lot of crap, but in reality, he's got 5 championships. He's only 38 years old. He won 2 in college with Nick Saban, 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots, but 0 head coaching experience. Okay, you can make a case for Joe Judge. I didn't like it at first. I defended Joe Judge after that. My issue with it was the following. Eric Bieniemy was available. Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, while Patrick Mahomes was having this legendary year, his MVP year, his first full season in the NFL, and then he followed that up with a Super Bowl championship. Didn't get a job. Marvin Lewis, a very successful head coach with the Cincinnati Bengals, longtime head coach, turned that franchise completely around. Should he have had his job as long as he did? Probably not. But the argument that I would like to make is, if Marvin Lewis was white with that same exact resume, he would have a job. He would have a job today. Marvin Lewis would not be unemployed with the resume that he has if he was white. I know a lot of people are upset about this, but in reality, man, if this is a way that we can get minorities an opportunity to run the show, to steer the ship, to have head coaching opportunities, to have an opportunity to run the front offices for these NFL teams, I'm all for it, man. I know it looks bad. I know how it sounds. But this could create an opportunity for these minorities to show that, yes, we've always been the right person for the job. Minorities have dominated the game of football forever. Why aren't they running the show? Why aren't they in front offices? Why aren't there more head coaches that are minorities? It makes no sense, and it's time for that to change. I think this will help starting next season. Now let's switch over to the other controversial topic of the week, the MLB. The MLB proposed a shortened season, an 82-game season, in which they will have no fans in the stands. There is talks about having a universal DH and a bunch of other different things, but the one important thing that does affect the players is the reduced salaries. Now, I know we're thinking, well, yeah, if they're playing less games, they should take less money. If they're playing less games, that's less revenue that's going to come in for the teams in order to pay the players. So it's just common sense. But how does that benefit the players? Blake Snell, pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays, came out and was vocal about his opinion about this shortened season. In a nutshell, Blake Snell says it's not worth playing this year on a reduced salary. And I know many people are already saying, well, damn, that's very selfish of him. He should do it for the love of the game. I know he had a couple people tell him that. This is the time where people most need sports, and this guy's just worried about his money and he's being selfish. And I'll be honest, when I first read it, I was like, damn, it's unfortunate that he does feel that way, because I thought that this would be great for baseball. The fact that baseball has been losing popularity over the last few years, they needed something to set a spark. And I thought, well, if baseball becomes the first sport back, that's huge, because it'll be the only thing on TV. It would entice fans to want to watch baseball again, and maybe it'll pick up on the popularity. It would also give teams a chance, to make some revenue on TV deals. And amongst that, me being a fan, 82-game season, a shorter season, will allow some other teams to maybe get into the playoffs. I mean, how many teams start off extremely hot and then they fall off in August and September? They end up missing the playoffs. With a shorter season, this would allow some new teams to get in there. I'm one of those guys. I'm all for parity. So, as a fan, it made sense to me. But then I had to, take a step back and really think about who's really taking the risk here, and it's the players. You're asking the players to play on a reduced salary. Now, this example might piss some people off, because I'm certain that people are going to be like, well, yeah, they're making millions of dollars. But let's put it into perspective here a little bit. If you make $50,000, that's your salary. You make $50,000. Would you sacrifice half of your salary, where you're the only one making sacrifices, where you're the only one taking risks, and the only people that are really benefiting from this are your bosses or fans or people that you don't even know? Would you sacrifice half of your salary if you don't benefit a single thing? Of course you fucking wouldn't! So why are you giving Blake Snell shit for something that you wouldn't do? Now, this isn't every player, because this could benefit some players. I'll tell you who it benefits. It benefits guys like Mookie Betts and guys like Francisco Lindor, who are due for a big-ass payday at the end of the year. It benefits Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant, especially after losing his appeal on service time, instead of having to play 2 full seasons without any control before hitting free agency, now he really only has to play a year and a half, and his trade value kind of goes down a little bit, so he might not even get moved. But for somebody like Blake Snell, who hasn't hit his prime yet, who, yes, the Rays did lock up early, so they didn't have to pay him what he really will be worth here in a couple years, it sucks for him, because God forbid they play this season and he suffers an injury. Now he's risking the rest of his career for a reduced salary. And he mentioned that. He said, why should I have to play for less money than I signed for? It doesn't make any sense. And I agree with him. He's the one taking all the risk. He's the one sacrificing his health. And for what? He has no benefit. The owners are the one that benefit. You, the fans, are the ones that benefit, but his family doesn't benefit. He personally does not benefit. And it's not like he's going to go out there and play in front of fans that love him, that are going to go watch him. I mean, that's part of it too. You've seen how many athletes have come out and said, man, it would suck to play without fans, because that's why we do it. We feed off their energy. So it's like he's literally just going out there to play in front of nobody for less fucking money. And you're giving him shit for not wanting to play this year? If I'm Blake Snell, of course I want to sit out this year. Of course I want to sit out this year. Start off next season where I can get my full money. I'll sacrifice this year. You don't get that money back. You play on a reduced salary, and then that's it. That money is gone. How is that fair? I am with Blake Snell as much as I want there to be an MLB season. It's not fair to the players. As a player, if I was a player in the major leagues, I would not want to play this year, unless, of course, I was due for a big payday this offseason, if I was a free agent, or if I was Chris Bryant in that situation where it's leading up to free agency. But to call somebody I mean, who's really selfish in this conversation? It's not the players. They're the ones that are risking the most in here. The selfish ones are the owners. I understand both sides. There's less money that's coming in. But guess what, man? Guess fucking what? Without the players, your league ain't shit. And that's just a fact. I understand that baseball doesn't have the superstar factor that the NBA does, that, NFL quarterbacks have. But without the players, you ain't shit, man. You better play these players. Whatever they're due, find a way to make it worth their while. Because otherwise, I'm with Blake Snell. I wouldn't want to play this year. I hope, as a fan, that there is a season. But I wouldn't give the players crap. If they didn't come to an agreement and there was no season, I can't fault the players for not wanting to play on reduced salaries. It's not right. And, Blake Snell is just one, but Jake Arrieta, he's due a lot more than what he's worth, especially with the elbow concerns that he has. He's going to be a free agent, and he's not going to make up that money. You got guys like Starlin Marte, Justin Turner. They signed big contracts. They're not going to make up that money in free agency because they are declining players. Why is it fair to punish them when they're the ones taking all the risk? It doesn't make sense at all. That's going to be all for this one. As always, like and subscribe on all of our platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube channel. Gotta get our subscribers up on our YouTube channel, so go ahead and do that right now. Go ahead, like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm signing up.